Meanwhile, there's a new threat from China. It is building a new weapon, a weapon that can hijack satellites. This is what the Americans claim. It is part of a secret intelligence report prepared by the CIA. Recently, that assessment was leaked. And here is what it says. China is building sophisticated cyber weapons. They'll have the ability to, quote unquote, deny, exploit, or hijack rival satellites. Once this Chinese weapon strikes, it can make satellites useless. They won't be able to send data signals or conduct surveillance. In fact, let me show you how the leaked report describes the Chinese weapon. This is what it says. Their cyber capability would allow China to seize control of a satellite, rendering it ineffective to support communications, weapons, or intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance systems. It's a clear threat, and Taiwan has taken note. It is upgrading its communication infrastructure. The new system should be able to survive a Chinese attack, or so Taipei hopes. You see, satellite communications are indispensable for Taiwan. If China decides to invade, communication networks will be a clear target. The PLA will try to knock them out, and by doing so, they will be able to cut Taiwan off from the rest of the world. This is a real threat, and Taiwan has no option but to prepare in more ways than one. It has also announced fresh military drills. They will begin next month.
Of course, our drills are based on the threat of the communists invading Taiwan and their recent military exercises around Taiwan. So, the Combat Planning Department has designed rigorous scenarios for both the computer-based command post drills and the field drills to test the preparedness of the armed forces to conduct defensive operations and their battle planning abilities.
Taiwan's allies are preparing too. This week, the US conducted drills with the Philippines. This was their largest ever annual military exercise. It happened on the Basco Island. This is a remote island near southern Taiwan. Military experts believe if China invades Taiwan, this island could become the front line. Because through this island, the Chinese Navy can access Taiwan's eastern coast. Earlier this month, the PLA made its presence felt in the region. They sent an aircraft carrier. It is called Shandong. The Shandong carrier conducted a transit in these waters, and the PLA did not stop there. It followed up with fighter jet drills. The US is responding to these Chinese provocations. They too are conducting more drills with regional partners. Meanwhile, Australia is upping its defenses too. It has a new defense strategy in place. The policy was announced this week. It did not name China, but the report clearly spelled out the threats from the dragon. Now, Australia is strengthening its defense forces. It plans to build guided missiles by the year 2025. In fact, it's an old plan, but earlier Australia had set a deadline for 2027. Now they are pursuing it more urgently. More money will be pumped into this project. We're talking about something to the tune of $1.6 billion. And this shows a clear realignment of priorities. Right now, Australia has more land-based weapons, but it wants to shift to tactical weapons. It wants more missiles to strike far-off targets. Guided missiles fit that description. They can be controlled while they're still in the air, and they can strike moving targets. The trajectory is clear. China does not rule out a war to take Taiwan, so the PLA is ramping up its preparations. It is adding more weapons to its arsenal. It is engaging in military provocations around Taiwan, and Taiwan and its Western allies are responding to this with more drills, with more weapons. But not everyone wants to pick sides, especially in the West. You already know about France's position. Now we have the United Kingdom. London has spelled out its policy on China. Their Foreign Secretary, James Cleverly, has delivered a speech. His plan to deal with China is through engagement and influence. He wants to call out China on human rights, he says. At the same time, he wants to talk to China and try to bring it on board on issues like climate change. What about Taiwan? Cleverly said a conflict over the island will be catastrophic. Let me quote from his speech. A war across the strait would not only be a human tragedy, it would destroy world trade worth $2.6 trillion. I shudder to contemplate the human and financial ruin that would follow, so it's essential that no party takes unilateral action to change the status quo. Cleverly has also asked China to come clean about its military buildup on the high seas. Guess what China's response is? It's called London's assessment, nonsense.
China pursues a defensive national defense policy. Our defense construction focuses on safeguarding China's own security. Accusations of so-called Chinese military expansion are complete nonsense.
London wants a trade relationship with Beijing. At the same time, it wants to contain China militarily. It's not the first power to try to walk the middle ground. The problem is, with China, there is no middle ground.